Hello, welcome to the Lines preview of the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I am Matt Brown, joined by Stephen Andrus. And Stephen, we're going to run through our three favorite bets for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. And of course, as always, everything we do is absolutely free. So go ahead, subscribe to the channel here, head over to the Lines. You can see all the awesome preview articles for this tournament that are over there. And of course, you can join our Discord as well to get the full betting preview, the full betting card, and any just discussion that's going on amongst the community over there, which has really turned into, Stephen, I got to admit, which has really turned into something more than I even thought it could. There are some people who are really interested in golf betting, and we have everyone in there from the beginner all the way to the seasoned veteran. And so you're not going to feel out of place if you haven't really bet golf a ton before. I think you can come in there. I think you can learn. And outside of just watching the stuff here on the YouTube channel.
I think people are learning too. It's not just us on the line staff sharing picks. There's actual conversation going on. We're sharing insights about our process with modeling, with how we get to our picks each week. Ideas are bouncing back and forth, not just with us, but other people that are in the community, golf fans, golf bettors. So it's been a lot of fun. And it's not just golf, it's college basketball. We did it during the NFL. It's going to be big during March Madness. Mo's in there with NBA. So if you haven't done it already, hit that little Discord button in the top right corner of the Lions homepage.
And let us know in the comments section who you on this week for Arnold Palmer. Of course, we are heading over. This is a beast of a course here, Stephen. 7,466 yards, one of the longest on tour. It is a par 72 though, so you're going to get the 4 threes, the 4 fours in this one. We've seen some courses that were 71 and 70 here over the last few weeks, so we're not going to get that. At least you do get that. Don't expect low scores here. The historic cut line has been over par typically at this tournament. So just calm down if your guy isn't sitting, 7-8 under or something like that. If you just have, a guy to make a cut, or if you're playing him in DFS or whatever it might be, this cut line is likely to be over par. Recent winners: Bryson DeChambeau, Tyrrell Hatton, Francesco Molinari, Rory McIlroy, and Mark Leishman. That's dating back to 2017. In this one, Stephen, as we mentioned, par is going to be a good score on the majority of the holes here. 12 of the holes have scoring averages over par. 4 of the 6 holes that are not par 5s. So you really got to score on these par 5s. All par 5s have at least a 32% birdie rate. Number 16 is only 511 yards and actually has a 52% birdie rate and a 5% eagle rate. So that is going to be the hole that you have to score on as well. All 4 of the par 3s are super long, play over 200 yards. So you're going to want to put that in your model as well. 5 of the par 4s land in the 450 to 500 yard range. So you want to look at that as well. These are going to be narrow fairways, thick roughs. So you're going to need to be pretty accurate. We have seen bomb and gouge win because look, Bryson won last year, but typically you're going to want to try to be fairly accurate here. The greens rock hard, super fast, and there's water in play on 11 of the 18 holes. So when we look at this, Stephen, it's going to be a grind. It's going to be a mental test. It's going to be some guys that are going to face adversity at some point in the tournament, and they're going to have to be able to be okay with that adversity and kind of get through what might be a rough stretch, because this course is going to get everybody.
Like you said, we've seen bomb and gouge work here with Bryson, but he's just such an outlier that it's not really a strategy that I want to go with. I look at this tournament as a proper golf tournament. This is a kind of like the Honda Classic last week at PGA National, where I want guys who are going to be consistently hitting fairways and consistently hitting greens. And even though they are coming in from longer distances with longer irons, I'd rather have the accurate guys on approach, just like we try to do every single week, hit on that fundamental of strokes gained on approach, than the guys that are going to have to be scrambling quite often, even if they are good scramblers. So we've seen the guys who are accurate off the tee and accurate on approach do well here just as much as a guy like Bryson, who bomb and gouge won this tournament. So there isn't just one mold that wins this tournament, but I'm going back to fundamentals and sound all around good golfers.
I like it. I'm going to start things off with my first favorite bet of the tournament. And you guys that like to hold the lottery tickets, this one's for you, because this is my bomb of the week. And it is Danny Willett at 200 to 1 here, Stephen. He gained 5.6 strokes tee to green last week. He just lost it all on the putting surface. He couldn't get any putts to fall. It was over 4 strokes lost with the flat stick. And if you guys follow any of my content, you know I'm not going to hold the putting as nearly as important as most people are, because if we have seen so many guys just get hot with putters and win tournaments, we've also seen really good putters just not be able to find the bottom of the hole. So for me, it's the least important stat for me at all. And so what I really like to see from Willett is those 5.6 strokes gained tee to green last week. He is, and it's for win equity. I mean, guys, he's won 9 times in his career. The last win came in October. So, I mean, he's won in the last calendar year as well. In the last 12 months, he's made the cut the last 2 years at this tournament. He's got an 18th and a 31st finish in the last 2 years here. He was 28th in my 36 round model, Steven, and he was 4th in the entire field in strokes gained around the green in that time span as well. We just mentioned these are hard greens. These are super fast greens. So even if you hit good approach shots, sometimes the ball is not going to find the putting surface, and you're going to have to be good around the greens as well. And Danny Willett is that. If you want a triple digit bomb to have in your account, I like having Willett this week.
I don't hate it. I didn't land on a triple digit guy this week, which is the first time really all season that hasn't happened for me. I didn't see as many popping in the top 20 in my model over the last 36 rounds as I have in recent weeks. And I think it's probably because we're looking at a tougher course, tougher metrics, in past weeks where I'm looking at, proximity to the hole from maybe 125 to 150 or 150 to 175. I have 200 plus in there. I have par 3 scoring from 200 to 225 in there, which has been a pretty high correlation to the winner in past years at Arnie's place. That those long par 3s, you want to be among the leaders in scoring for the week on those difficult par 3s. And you mentioned the par 5s earlier. Obviously, that's where you got to try and take advantage of this course and score. So a guy who is admittedly coming off a cut in his last tournament at the Genesis, but I'm going back to at a good number here. Taylor Gooch at 66-1 popped in the top 10 over his last 50 rounds and got as high as 3rd this week in the model I'm using over his last 36 rounds. Just a really clean profile across the board. We obviously know him as a solid ball striker. One of the, if you ask around guys on the tour or caddies on tour, he's one of those guys on the tour that is just up there with nobody's Colin Morikawa, but those really solid iron hitters. Even with the wedges or the long irons, he's a guy who had a win on the fall swing here at the RSM Classic in November, so we know he can win. And this isn't all that daunting of a field. You got a couple big names at the top like Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, but this isn't a WGC field type situation. So Gooch, top 20 in several of my metrics across the board here. The one concern is off the tee. He's been spraying a little bit off the tee. But when a guy peaks this high for me in a 66-1, I can't ignore that.
Hey, I completely understand that. I think that is a super solid play as well for me. Guys, one of the things that you can do over on the lines as well, right there on the homepage, you can click the little button right there on the left-hand side you'll see it right across the middle, and it says Prop Finder. And you can click that right there, and you can type in any player's name, and that's basically in any sport, but you can type in any golfer as well. It'll show you the best outright price that you can find, and then we'll also show you all of the other placement markets as well. One of the things that I do every single week, I'm not saying that this should be your strategy. One of the things that I do, because I typically don't have a very big card, is I will place some sort of placement market on anybody that I have an outright on as well. So be sure that you are looking at those as well. You can find the very best numbers that you can find over at the lines as well, which is what I did in order to find this top 20 over on PointsBet on Keith Mitchell, which is my second best bet of the week here. Steven, Keith Mitchell has just been on fire. If you're talking about recent form with a guy. I mean, this is a guy who has gone out this year and all he's done is find himself inside the top 20s. And one of the things I really liked last week, Stephen, that with Keith Mitchell as well, which I think really got me on him this week. I think this top 20 bet on him is one of my bigger ones in a while, is he didn't light it up every single round out there. And he found himself really struggling at points in that tournament and still was super gritty to go out and still grind. And that's one of the other things. This tournament could be a grind. And if the wind comes in, if there's any sort of rain, look, it's Florida. It could happen at any point. This tournament could be a big grind. And Keith Mitchell has shown that he can grind, and he can grind out there with the best of them. And if you look at just the raw statistics as well, if you go back, and the recent form is really good, but the stuff that I found important this week, even if I go back 50 rounds, Stephen, which I'm a lot of the same stuff you are, ball striking, proximity 200 plus, par fours 450 to 500, par five scoring, et cetera. I am still looking here at Keith Mitchell coming in at 9th in my 50 round model here. So not only is his recent form great, he's still inside the top 10 in my model for all the stuff that I'm looking for this week as well. I'm getting 2-1 on this guy to finish inside the top 20 over at PointsBet. I'll take that. My second best bet of the week.
You want to hear something crazy with Keith Mitchell? In the last 24 rounds, first in my model in this tournament. I mean, he's been incredible in the short term. If you look at his recent performances, he's made the cut in 5 of his last 6 events, but all 5 of those made cuts, he's been T12 or better. So he's been right up there in the mix. So I love that number. I like it. I couldn't bet him on the outright market because, frankly, I can't bet 40-1 on Keith Mitchell when Sam Burns is 50-1. You're getting Sam Burns in this tournament against a weaker field at the same odds that he's posted for the Masters right now. So I know Sam Burns has struggled. He is not going to peak in the models for this tournament like he has when he was red hot towards the end of last year and in the fall schedule. But I'm playing a number at this point at 50-1 on Sam Burns. And it's not even like he's all that bad in the model this
20th
week.
in my 24 round,
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's dipped a little because of recent performances, but, sometimes you just got to draw a line through that and look at more, long range data when it comes to these guys. And we know how talented Sam Burns is. And he's 15th in my last 36 round model this week. He's still in that, top 20 tier over the last 50 rounds. So the guy over the last 36 rounds, too, the other part I like about it is the fact that he is, as I got some traffic coming through the neighborhood here, top 2 in this field, second in this field in par 3 scoring from that 200 to 225 yard category. So he's very comfortable on these long par 3s where a lot of players are certainly not. He is still very stable off the tee on a course where you want to be long off the tee. Sam Burns should be both long and accurate. And if he does get into a little bit of trouble around the greens, he's still in the top 30 in this field in strokes gained short game as well. So this number has dipped too far for me, and I'm going to take a buy low on Sam Burns at 50-1 in the outright market.
Sam Burns also on my card this week. And again, our full card you can find over on thelines.com. And also once you join the Discord, you can hop in there. You can find everybody's full card picks. I'm going to round mine out here with a top 10 finish. You can find this again. Go to the prop finder, take a look. Top 10 finish over at Caesars, 3-1 on Sung J M here, Stephen. And if you look at Sung J M, this is a guy that if you talk about a grinder, a guy that can go out, knows how to grind, knows how to get over bad rounds, because listen, sometimes you're going to get Sung J and he's going to shoot a 71 or so, 74, 73, something like that, and still has a way to find his way inside that top 20 and even inside that top 10. If you take a look at the model that I ran over the last 24 rounds, he is right up there at number 2 in the entire model. If you look at the model I ran over the last 36 rounds, he is the number 1 golfer over the last 36 rounds for the model that I ran. And Steven, That means over the last 36 rounds, Sung J M in this field, which, as you said, is like, it's not the strongest of strong, but it's got 6 of the top 10 players in the world golf ranking. It's pretty strong. He is 13th overall in this field in ball striking, 3rd overall around the green, 3rd overall in proximity 200 plus, 4th overall 450 to 500 par 4s, 10th overall in par 5 scoring, and 6th overall in good drives, which, by the way, I focused a little bit more on this week than distance because, again, yes, you can bomb and gouge like we said. We saw Bryson do it, but really you want to be a little bit more accurate and you just really want to keep it out of the thick stuff. And so good drives, it's one of those deals where you don't necessarily have to hit the fairway, but even if it just barely rolls off the fairway, which gives you still a nice shot into the green, that's how good drives is measured. So he's 6th in the field in that over the last 36 rounds. So you are talking about a guy who is inside the top 13 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 7 categories that I had weighted heavily this week. I like Sung Jae a lot. Give me a top 10 on him at 3-1.
Yeah, I almost pulled the trigger on him. I saved some about a unit for somebody in this range, a Sung Jim, maybe a Matthew Fitzpatrick. I can't figure out my final conclusion on his iron play because I'm seeing overall strokes gain approach metrics with Sung Jae that are outside the top 30, which is unusual for him. But if you look at the splits at the yardages, those long irons that matter more for this tournament, he's elite in that area. So is that more older data with those long irons and isn't taking into account poor iron play right now? Or has he actually been good with the long irons despite the short iron struggles? So I got to look more into that. I'm not sure if I'm pulling the trigger on him or Fitzpatrick or somebody else in this range, maybe it's Tyrrell Hatton, but still concluding that, and I'll add my final outright at some point here in the Discord channel. But the last bet that I have for this tournament, I'm going to look at Maverick McNeely to finish top 20 in this tournament. I like to bet these over at BetMGM because you get the ties paid out in full. So I believe we're looking at around plus 225 with those ties paid out in full for Maverick McNeely to finish top 20. And again, very surprised to see him as high as he was in the model for me this week. Over his past 50 rounds, he was 13th. Over his past 36 rounds, he was inside the top 10. Just a really solid all-around player right now. Strokes gained off the tee better than the iron play, but he's been good with the long irons. And what I liked a lot is that he's scoring on these par 5s, which is going to be, like we talked about, very important here to take advantage of with how difficult some of these other par 4s, in particular the par 3s, are. So a young player, an up-and-comer who we thought would do better on the California tracks, being a NorCal guy, but I think they're on a difficult course with his profile right now. I think that's a pretty solid bet at plus 225 with ties paid in full to finish top 20.
Yeah, a few of these course history guys, and you just mentioned one of them in Fitzpatrick. Jason Kokrak, T8 here last year, T18 the year before that, T10 the year before that. You get to Matt Fitzpatrick, T10 last year, T9 the year before that, and an outright second the year before that. And then the king of course history here is Rory McIlroy, T10 last year, T5 the year before that, T6 the year before that. He won it in 2018, and then T4 in 2017. If you came to me and said you wanted to put some money on Rory McIlroy in some way, shape, or form or some fashion, I am never talking you out of it because the guy just loves playing here at Bay Hill. But guys, again, you can head over. Awesome previews at not only Play Picks, but over at the lines as well. You can also get into the Discord, head to the homepage at the lines, upper right-hand corner, click on that thing. You can find all of our full cards in there. And you can also get in on just the general discussion here of what everyone's thinking about with this tournament. Me, Steven, Brett's over in there. John's over in there. We got Tyler's over in there. We got a ton of guys talking about golf and posting their cards. So be sure and get in on the conversation. If you have any other questions or comments, be sure and leave them in the comment section below and hit that subscribe button. As always, good luck on all your bets for the Arnold Palmer